Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today we ask the question of, is a muscle being sore after training a sign of growth? So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Is a sore muscle a sign of growth? Well, actually, I'm going to say no, not at all. Can growth occur with muscle soreness? Yes. Is it usually accompanied with it? No. In fact, usually the best muscle growth is often accompanied with not being sore at all, or very mild soreness at the most. And let's talk about that for a minute. In fact, most people think of the worst soreness you ever got when training. When did that happen? Like when you think back historically, anyone who's trained for years, either when you first started lifting or you took a long break and you came back to lifting. What happened? Got really sore. Got really sore for the first couple of weeks. When we do studies on humans who start training, do most people gain muscle in the first 2 to 3 weeks in the gym? No, they don't. They don't gain muscle. They might see shifts in transient storage factors. They might retain a little extra muscle glycogen, but you put them under a DEXA scan, they don't gain muscle. It takes a few weeks to start gaining muscle. Yet the first couple of weeks are usually the sorest. So, in fact, I think it's fair to say that there's an anti-correlation. There's a reverse correlation between muscle soreness and growth, because the most soreness you get equals the weeks that you don't even grow. You don't grow at all. Let that sink in for a minute. So if that's the case, how would anybody equate muscle soreness with growth? Why are they doing that? And I'm going to get to what causes muscle soreness in a minute. I want people to think about that. Why? Because they've been told by a bunch of masochistic people who are obsessed with masochism and inflicting pain upon themselves, no pain, no gain. No pain, no gain. Well, that's complete bullshit. I'm sorry, you can get to a 600-pound deadlift without getting sore or having pain. That's sheer fucking ignorance. No pain, no gain. No, how about you just come in and train a little harder than you did the time before? Why don't you just consistently add 1 or 2 pounds to the bar? Add a rep when you can here or there. Do that for several years and see what sort of gains you make. Take your 200-pound deadlift to a 500-pound deadlift for a couple reps over several years by doing that. And take your bench press from 100 pounds up to 275 for a couple reps by just following basic progressive overload without getting sore, and tell me that no pain equals no gain. No, pain usually equals reduced gains. Pain equals reduced gains, and let's talk about why. What's going on here? When people first start lifting, they get sore because they're not used to training. All right? They're not used to training. Any working out for someone who's been sedentary is so overwhelming that it throws their body into a state of shock. They're practically overtraining. People who first start lifting, even lightly, because they've been sedentary and sitting on their asses for years, are so weak, so maladapted to exercise that even a simple light weightlifting program actually makes them so sore sometimes they can barely move. They almost overtrain from it. All right, they almost overtrain from it. Then, after they've been working out a couple weeks, they start adapting. Now, your body doesn't want you to gain muscle in the first couple of weeks that you train, because your body only responds to chronic stimulus. And that applies not just when you're a beginner, but if you've been training for years. Your body doesn't care about an individual training session. And people focus on this minutia, like every session is so important. Your body doesn't give a fuck about a single training session in the grand scheme of things. It cares about chronic fatigue. Fatigue inflicted over time. Workload it's subjected to over time, because it doesn't care about short-term changes. The human body cares about long-term changes. It doesn't want to gain muscle. Muscle costs you calories. All right, we're just designed to survive famines and ice ages. That means it doesn't gain muscle too easily. It only gains muscle when you force it to. And your body doesn't know if you're going to keep subjecting it to something for weeks and months on end until you do subject it to something for weeks and months on end. All right, it doesn't know that this isn't going to end in 3 days. All right, and until it's convinced that it isn't, it's not going to speed your metabolism up by putting a bunch of muscle on you. Why would it do that? That could cause you to starve to death. You would die. Our bodies don't respond that way. People who responded that way starved to death like 200,000 years ago. They're dead already. All right, they're dead. They didn't live long enough to have children. Or they starved to death while they had children, and then their children starved to death because they couldn't feed them. All right, we don't do that. That's not how humans respond. We respond to chronic training stimulus, and it needs to be gradual in nature to make the best progress. The things that cause your body to get sore are being hit with too much workload at once. That's one of the things, one of the big things. Meaning you hit your body to a workload way beyond what it can adapt to. It's going to get sore as a response. Now, when you first start working out, bench pressing an empty bar for 8 reps and curling a 10-pound dumbbell 10 times is more than your body can adapt to. If you've been completely sedentary and pushing a pencil around or sitting on a keyboard at a desk job or in school, you're sedentary. Your body can't even handle that. That's why it gets sore. You have to adapt to that. It takes a little time. That's a way more training stimulus than it was ready for at one time. All right, you come in and you've been bench pressing 135 pounds for 3 sets of 10, and then you double that, and you just throw 3 extra sets at it. You do twice as much work as you normally do. You get sore. You really think you grew significantly from that? Probably not. Maybe a little bit, because you did add workload. That's progressive overload. But you get sore because you subjected your body to a workload it was not prepared to deal with, and that it can't quite recover from properly. It gets sore to tell you, hey, idiot, don't do that to me again. That's what soreness means. All right, that is what soreness means. Quit doing whatever you're doing is stupid. Stop doing it. That's what your body's trying to tell you. That hurt. You're damaging me. And, and hopefully you get the message. That's what it's telling you. Now, the other thing that causes it is not training often enough. All right, why do you think guys who have a leg day complain that they can't walk the next day sometimes? Because they only train their legs once a week. All right, that's not proper for making positive adaptations to stimulus or exercise. All right, every expert in the world knows that. No coach would have you only squat once a week if you wanted to get better at the squat or build your legs. Why would they do that? Would you only run once a week if you wanted to be a better runner? Would you only throw a baseball once a week if you wanted to get better at throwing a baseball? No, you'd be doing that shit 3, 4, 5 times a week. You know what? The same thing happens for the barbell squat. Every study ever done on it shows that the higher frequency that you squat at, as long as you recover, the better you get at it. All right, there's a motor learning process. Coming in and training exercise only once a week is not sufficient. It works great for guys on shitloads of drugs. But for everyone else, it equals slower progress. All right, it equals slower progress. It's not the way to do it. And your body also lets you know that because it has detrained sometimes from your previous leg day. So you come in and you throw way more volume at it they can recover from because, sorry, most people guys 15 sets for your legs in one day. Body doesn't recover from that very well. That's why you're sore. You can't walk the next day. Then, sure, it adapts and grows a little bit, but by the time you get to the next leg workout, your body is almost forgotten about the previous one because you're not doing it very often. A week is a really, really long time as far as metabolic changes go in the body. It starts to go, okay, I'm going to start detraining some of the strength and everything that we gained on Monday. Last leg day come next Monday because it doesn't need it anymore. You haven't been using it. And then you subject it to more workload than it can recover from again after it started detraining. So you keep getting sore because you're not doing it often enough and you're doing too much workload usually. That combination, people then, oh, I can't walk the next day. Yeah, you can't walk because you don't know how to fucking train. You've been reading bodybuilding magazines instead of physiology books. So of course you don't know how to train. And anyone who has a leg day, they have a lot to learn still. But that's why you get sore. The other thing that will make you sore is really slow negatives or forced negatives reps. Anyone know why? Because it causes micro tearing of the connective tissue on the ends of your muscles. Now, that micro tearing, we're not talking about micro tearing of the muscle fibers, we're talking about micro tearing of the connective tissue. Now, that's not necessarily beneficial to your muscle growth. But it's your body telling you, hey, you've damaged this connective tissue. This connective tissue is important for reducing injuries. Don't do that again. That's why your body gets sore, because it knows you've damaged something. It causes unnecessary micro tearing to do too many slow negatives or forced negatives. So that's why you get sore. Now, I want people to tell me which of those things is associated with muscle growth. Maybe only the last one, and it's not guaranteed. Yeah, eccentric reps can be helpful for muscle growth, but they're not necessary for maximum growth. They're just one tool in the toolbox. The other stuff doesn't help you grow a fucking single bit. So the other two causes of muscle soreness don't ever help you grow. Training with more workload than your body can adapt to, that doesn't help you grow that much. That's not a good tool. Not training and exercise or muscle often enough, well, that's not helpful either. So the only one of those that contributes could be the slow negatives or forced negatives in some cases. They at least have some association with muscle growth. The rest of it, no. So when people ask, is getting sore associated with muscle growth? No, not really. Most of the time it isn't. Usually a sign you're doing something wrong. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.